All right, so I have my watercolors set up here, and I'm going to do just a little bit of drawing. I'm going to take a brown, like an umber pencil. I don't even think I really need to do much drawing on this guy, but just going to give myself a couple key marks. I like to mix up the demos between things that have to be drawn really accurately and then things where you can be a little looser and more expressionistic or impressionistic. All right, that's all I think I really need to do for this because it's going to get covered with watercolor underpainting. So my thought is to do, I got my little water bottle here and I'm going to make it a fairly loose underpainting. I'm mixing up a ultramarine blue and a alizarin, more ultramarine than alizarin right now. It's a lot of purple in this background. And I'm going to use a fair amount of water. I don't care, being that it's a waterfall, it could be drippy, right? Ah. That was a joke. I hope you're all laughing. Kind of a joke. So I'm going for the real darks, and I'm probably going to have to go over them twice because the watercolor will dry lighter. I'm trying to use minimal water because I want it to be dark. So it's just a combination of these two colors. Just get this dark, deep, rich purple. If I add more water to the mixture, which I'm doing right now, and I'm adding a little bit of burnt sienna to the mixture, warm it up a little bit. And I think I'm even going to wet the paper a little with my spray bottle just to give it a drippy, dreamy kind of feeling, which is what the waterfall looks like to me. So I'm pretty much ignoring most of the water. I'm trying to kind of paint what's behind the water. Water is really, really fun to paint. It's got its own set of challenges. And when I show you the PowerPoint later, I found some amazing, I have been loving doing these PowerPoints for you guys because it's, I'm using a lot of artists I know, but I'm also finding new people, which is always so thrilling. Okay, now the foreground, I'm going to put a little yellow ochre into the mixture because it's like a warmer and it's laying flat, picking up more light from above. I think I took this photo at Crystal Springs Rhododendron Gardens some time ago. Which I missed this year because we couldn't go there. Big fat bummer. So yeah, I'm getting a little more warm in there. Some cad red. All right, so we're just going to finish this up and let it dry for a minute. It might take a little minute because it's pretty wet out, pretty damp today. Yeah, it feels like a waterfall already a little bit, doesn't it? Just giving it a little spritz just for fun. All right, now my underpainting is dry, so I will proceed pulling out my soft and hard pastels. And I'm going to come in, actually I'm going to hit it with a soft pastel first. I'm going to come in and really hit those dark areas. I'm going to pick up a really dark kind of purple, warm purple. I'm going to just kind of go right to my darkest darks. Just laying it flat and making some loose marks. Just want to create that pattern. You've heard me talk about creating a pattern of dark. I want to try and connect the darks. And like connect the dots. So I'm looking down the side here and seeing this whole dark area. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. There's never a time that I paint rocks or water where I don't think about my mentor, Albert Handel. He is like the master of rocks and water. In fact, I think he even has a book just on rocks, or either a book or a video on rocks and water. It's like his thing. And trees. I think I've showed you his trees before. He's equally as amazing with rocks and water. When I first studied with him, we were up in the Catskills in Woodstock, New York, upstate New York, which is just filled with streams and waterfalls of all sizes. And that's where he got the bug, the waterfall bug and the rock bug and the dark, deep streams that were they're typical up in that area. All right, I don't want that color. Almost like painting an abstract. Actually, it kind of feels very abstract-y. I think I'm going to now come in. I'm not going to get the lightest light, but I want to indicate, just so I know where I'm going, some of where the splashes are on the first level, a little bit here, and then again down here. So it's a kind of a very pale gray that I picked up. And this is like a really pretty lavendery color. Kind of mixing those in together. And I'm going to pick up more ochre-y. It's a little strong. I know it's strong, but I want to get that strength in there, and then I can tone it down. So that's a strong yellow ochre kind of rusty color, and this is a gray hard pastel that's the same value. And then there's a lot of kind of mossy greens. That's not a mossy green. That's not a mossy green. Here's a mossy green. I'm going to pick up some lighter grays for some of the rocks that are catching a little light. They're not the deepest, darkest colors. And I'm not, I'm going to hold back. I'm getting a little darker. I'm going to work up to the lights. I don't want to get too far ahead. I'm going to give it a little swipe with my finger, get that rushy kind of feeling. There's a cool blue and a warm blue that I'm kind of blending together here. Okay, now there's some lighter values in here with the rocks that are catching the light. A little bit of water catching the light. This is a very, what is this? It's a gray, it's like a warm gray. And then this water that's spilling over, again, I'm not going to the lightest color yet, just using that warm gray color. So the beauty of this is when you get the right underpainting, you can really just literally lay the water on top of it and you don't have to do a whole lot. And I'm going to pick up kind of a salmon kind of color, salmon middle value. Where is it? Here it is. I see some pinks where the light's hitting some of these rocks as well. And I'm looking for kind of an umbery greenish color. I'm going to get in here just to pick out some of the, in between the rocks there where the water's splashing over. I'm going to find another dark, this is more of a blue, dark blue. No, that's too purple. You want to find here. I'm mixing in a dark blue with this initial kind of eggplant purple color I put in there, just for variety, so it doesn't be, so it has a little more dimension to the dark. Kind of pulling my stroke in my hand, just like the waterfall's going. So that's another interesting thing about mark making when you're following the form of whether it's a human form or an animal or water. You want to kind of pull your stroke like if you were painting, you'd be doing the same thing with the brush. Getting a little bit of warm green up here. That moss is really adding a lot of warmth. I don't think I'm going to put this stuff in. I don't know. I thought I was, but I don't think I am. I think it'll be more distracting than enhancing, which is another big topic you keep hearing me talk about, that I am the boss of my painting. So I don't have to do what the picture says. I have to do what I want. And that's a hard thing because we're in the beginning when you're still, learning all this, is what to leave in and what to leave out. It gets tricky because you don't really know for sure. And sometimes when you put something in that is a distraction and it's not an enhancement. So that comes with experience. And then I can pull out my trusty pencils because there'll be a couple situations. Have like a bluish, pretty blue pencil. And once you get some pastel on here, that's a great time to come in and do that light glazing, almost like it's like misting. It's like a mist. So I don't press very hard on the pencil, but I use it to lightly harmonize the colors and pull them together without losing the colors. So I wouldn't be able to lay these colors in as easily had I not got a good underpainting. Underpainting really makes your life easier if you get it. That's why it's so important to keep practicing underpainting. Different ways, different approaches. Experiment with it. also, well, somehow I feel like my charcoal, my vine charcoal, is going to be my friend here too, because it's just enough. I want to kind of soften this whole area, but I don't want to lose the color. And edges are super important when you're doing this. There's really no edge to the water. Same like when you're doing fur or hair. There's no like edge. All right, the water gets a little, I'm gonna make it a little darker at the bottom, which will help enhance where the spray is coming up. Let me get some of this green in here. I see there's a lot of moss coming at the bottom of this thing. And behind it in here, I can see it through the water. Okay, I'm coming back now with this pencil. Soften it without losing what I have there. So the colors I'm putting down here are kind of lighter versions of the colors that I put in the darks. So purples and blues and grayed down, very grayed down, and just a lighter value than these darks. Now I'm picking up a very, it's not white, it probably looks white, but it's a creamy color. You see, it took me a long time to pick that up. That's coming later. That's the tendency people have, is to get that part in too soon. And there's some light hitting the rocks in the stream bed. I'm going to take a break, come back. All right, we'll just see what else we can do on this painting here. I think what I'm going to do is move my iPad to a better angle because I can see more color in the iPad. And that'll help me kind of do some more finishing type things. Because I printed it off on my very mediocre desktop printer. So the one area I really want to work on is where this water is spilling over, because that to me is like the whole thing. I love where the water is spilling over to the big waterfall part. And that's going to take a little bit of drawing. I'm going to, again, picking up a soft pastel. It's a very soft gray, neutral gray. It's just funny. I don't know if I'm in your guys, if I'm in your head like Albert's in my head, but I love it. I can hear him. I can hear his Brooklyn accent whenever I do this kind of subject. I owe very much of who I am as an artist to that guy. So form is important with everything, including this water. It's not just straight. It's got like a motion to it. It's coming over the rocks. And I'm picking up a pencil here, going over some of the soft pastel. So you want to really kind of move your arm the same way the water's going and try and feel the water falling over, why they call it a waterfall, right? Kind of think of that. It's like if you were painting a woman moving, motion. And kind of move your pastel or your brush if you're painting with it, kind of go with it. All right, I want to get a little bit of the dark rock and the dark background here. Kind of, there's actually a whole little secondary little dribbles of water over here that are kind of interesting. And I think I will lightly put them in. I don't want them to be as strong as the main guy. And I'm going to kind of, again, use my strokes. Oops, come back. I'm going to use my strokes to enhance that feeling of the falling of the water. So some of it could be a flat, really light stroke. And some of it, as you can see, I'm doing more linear strokes. So two different ways to make your, marks, make your strokes. I like how this kind of juts out a little bit. Again, I don't want any hard edges. So I can come in with the pencil, soften out the edge. I'm going to break up, I have this really big dark here. I want to break it up a little bit without making it, again, it's secondary. But I want to show a little bit in here, and I'm kind of moving the pastel different directions. It's a hard pastel. You can do it with a soft pastel. It's just harder to control the amount of pigment that comes off. It's easier with the hard pastels. All right, I'm going to get a little bit more delineation of the water down below. And then now I'm moving my arm sideways because that's the way the water, it's flat this way. So I'm using the directions again to help enhance that. Kind of cascades down over these rocks. Kind of feel how slippery it would be to walk there on those rocks. I'm going to do a little bit more carving out of some of the bigger rocks in the foreground. Break up that shape a little bit. I'm going to get a little bit of that light on there. That's for you, Aziza. Okay, now I want to work a little bit on this bottom, that splash, that whole little area, this whole area here. I want to get it, shape it a little more. It's kind of cascading out in these two directions. picking up a very kind of a pale pink on top of the gray blue that I put there. And this one corner here, I'm just going to soften that a little bit, kind of distracting. Such gorgeous colors that I see in here. Just, and now I'm going to come back up on that very, where the highlight is, where this stuff turns, and really I'm pressing harder now. I'm using very pale creamy white, and that's my highlights there. So that's where the form really turns. And I want to get a cooler white, and they're very pale. They're so just a step away from white, but they're not white. And this is where you would be like, the analogy would be like if I'm an oil painter and I pick up my palette knife at the end and just really hit it with some thick paint. That's what these extra soft pastels will do at the end. And I'm really pressing and twisting my pastel on there to get texture. And even with that, I might take a very pale pencil. Where is my pencils? Yeah, there's a very pale, I think I'm going to use a pale yellow. I'm just ever so lightly skating over it. It's sort of like, my analogy for this, what I do here is like if you have a house plants and you're just trying to mist them. So you take one of those spray bottles with a mister. And that's kind of what I think of when I'm doing that pencil thing. Just kind of a mist. So I don't want to drown it. I don't want to lose it, but I want to just mellow it out. I'm hitting some highlights. I'm not using the white, I'm using the purple, like a dusty purple, kind of blue purple. Kind of leads you out of the painting here. Kind of pull it forward. Just want to make sure I don't do what I tell you not to do, which is to get too much pattern. It's the same. So I want to break up. I'm always designing it too. Look at the shapes the water makes. Pick the ones that will help. Okay.